Hello everyone, welcome back to second video of ASA firewall, right? So in the previous class we have studied what is firewall, right? What is ASA, why we use ASA, then third thing, basic terminology which we are using in ASA, what is stateless and what is stateful firewall. After that we have started the things, means how to assign IP address on ASA, this thing which we have done in the previous class. Okay, if you have any confusion you can ask me. So in the previous class we have studied till how to assign IP address on ASA, what is security gen, what is security level, each and everything. So for assigning IP address in ASAP, you have to go into global configuration mode. Right, then you have to write command IP address not. First of all, you have to define security label. Name if 100, then IP address 12.0.0.1 space 255.0.0.0 and no shut. No. So this is the basic command which we are using to assign IP address on a particular interface. So we have already discussed before, IP address you have to define name if. Name if means security zone, and this name is if indicate that it's belong from the high security zone. It's belong from the high security zone, and security zone is depend upon which security zone is high and which security zone is low. It depend upon the security level, and by default security level is 0 to 100, right? So by using name if command you can define the severity level, or you can set the priority of an interface, how much we need to protect on that particular interface. Suppose where my name if my security level is 100, that means this is most protected zone for me. We have to do most security, or we have to do most protection for this particular interface. If the security level is 0, that means it's a less protection, right? So it depend upon the security level how much we need to require to secure the interface or secure the zone. Let's go with the ASA and do the same thing. जो अभी हमने करा है वो ASA पे करके देखते हैं. तो this is my basic practical. Okay, and we are using IP address here. Sorry, we are using IP address here is 12.0.0.1, and this IP is 12.0.0.2, and this is the 23.0.0.1, and this is a 23.0.0.2. What we will do, this is my inside interface, inside interface or inside zone, or this is my outside zone, or yeah, outside interface. Zone, yeah, interface. Okay, so here we will use the security level is 100, and here we will use security level is 0. Okay, so this is the basic task, or you can say that this is the first practical of ASA we will perform on GNS. Okay, so if you would like to learn ASA within details, so you need to install a GNS3 VM, and you have to required ASA image. So if you have any issue to download or how to install GNS, there are lots of video on YouTube. You can check and download from that particular video with the help of that particular video. If again you have dots, you cannot configure the ASA, or you cannot means do the same things, your ASA is not working in GNS, then you can call me. Okay, if you required like ASA image, then you can call me, or you can tell me. I will let you know how to download or how to install it. But again I said there are lots of video I have done from the videos as well. So if there are lots of videos are there, you can do from that particular video. Okay, it's my firewall. So still I think, yeah. So this is the basic difference between firewall and router. Whenever you are in user mode and you are writing a command enable, then they will directly go into the privilege mode. But in case of firewall, if you are in user mode and you are writing here enable to go into the privilege mode, first of all you require a password, and if you are new and there is no any password set, or there is nothing a password set here, just click on enter, then you will go into the privilege mode. Okay, that means in ASA, if you want to enter from user mode to privilege mode, first of all you will get an option for the password. If you have not set any password, just click on the enter, then you will go into the privilege mode. But if you have set some password like user enable password or enable secret password, then you have to define here. Config T. Okay, config T. What we want, we need to assign IP address gi0/0 is 12.0.0.2, and on gi0/1 we have to define 23.0.0.1. IP address, sorry, interface gi0/0. Okay, IP address, not, first thing is define name if 100. Whenever you are write command name if 100, then we get logs, info logs, security level 400 set to 0 by default. By default security level on all the interfaces set at 0, but if you want to set security level from 0 to 100, then security level is now 100. Okay, then the second step is define IP address. So IP address 12.0.0.2 to 55.0.0.0, and then you have to define no shutdown command. Okay, same, suppose on gi0/1 you will need to define IP address. Okay, so you have to define like IP address. So first of all you have to enter on the then you have to write command name if 0 IP address is 23.0.0.1 space to 55.0.0.0, no shutdown. So you can check the hierarchy here. In this case, we first of all what we have done, we have just defined the security level first, then we have assigned the IP address. Okay, and suppose you want to check what IP we have assigned on interface. So if I am talking about the router, the command was show IP interface brief, but in case of ASA the command is different, and command is show interface IP brief. This is the basic difference between the command line from router and ASA. In router you have to define show IP interface brief, means after so you require most of the command you need to define IP. You have to assign IP and you have to write IP. But in this case of ASA, the command is change and command is show interface IP brief. So in router we required a command show IP interface brief. Let me show you. This is my router. Suppose I want to check the configuration, then command is show IP interface brief. Okay, but in case of firewall you have to define show interface IP brief. Interface IP brief. This is the command to check the IP. This is इसमें कुछ थोड़ा सा उल्टा है बस, और कुछ नहीं है ना. वहाँ पे शो इंटरफेस IP इंटरफेस ब्रीफ चलता था, यहाँ पे शो इंटरफेस IP ब्रीफ और वहाँ पे शो IP इंटरफेस ब्रीफ. यहाँ पे इंटरफेस पहले IP बाद में और राउटर पे IP पहले इंटरफेस बाद में. ठीक है. नाउ okay, now let's suppose I am in router, sorry, I am on router, and on global configuration mode config t I want to show this command, show IP intbr. Am I not? Because we are in global configuration mode, and in global configuration mode you want to show some thing related to the interface or anything which we can see from the privilege mode. First of all you have to define do show IP intbr, then you can see the output. Means before any command, before the any show command you need to define do, but you can check on router on firewall there is no need to define any do or any things which we have defined on router. Here you can easily run show interface IP brief command on global configuration mode, and you can check the output which we have shown in the privilege mode also. Okay. Now till now you have any confusion? Okay. Let me define the IP address on router as well. Sorry, router as well. Interface GI 2/0. Okay, interface GI 2/0 IP address is 12.0.0.1 space 255.0.0.0. no shut down, exit and go to the R2 config T. Okay, interface GI 2/0 and define the IP address 23.0.0.2 space 255.0.0.0. no shutdown, exit. So in this case we have to define, so to check the IP address, what is the command? So IP interface brief. And let's suppose I want to only get the output which is which is the part of IP, or where we have only assigned the IP. I don't want to an assign interface in this output, so exclude unassign. Okay, so this is the IP address. भाई यहीं पे मैंने दोनों IP डाल दिया क्या? अरे यार, यहीं पे मैंने ये IP भी वो IP भी डाल दिया। कोई नहीं, कॉन्फ़िगर टर्मिनल इंटरफेस GI2/0 IP एड्रेस 12.0.0.1 space 255.0.0.0 no shut exit let me show IP interface brief। ठीक है, चलो R2 पे कर देते हैं। मैंने R2 पे पहले कॉन्फ़िगरेशन नहीं किया था। कॉन्फ़िगर टर्मिनल इंटरफेस GI2/0 IP addresses 23.0.0.2 space 255.0.0.0 no shutdown। let me ping from R1 to ASA, ping 12.0.0.2। am I able to ping? Yes, we can ping to the ASA। R2 show IP interface brief, sorry ping 23.0.0.1। तो मैं यहाँ पे भी पिंग कर पा रहा हूँ ASA के इंटरफेस। लेट्स शो debug IP ICMP debug IP debug ICMP enter। debug ICMP के बाद सिर्फ ट्रेस ओके एंटर कर दो। लेट मी पिंग एंड चेक कोई कुछ आ रहा है या नहीं आ रहा है। फायरवॉल पे देखो कुछ आ रहा है, देखो फायरवॉल पे भी हमें पैकेट दिखने को मिल रहा है। ठीक है, तो अभी तक हमने पढ़ लिया कि हाउ टू असाइन IP एड्रेस ऑन ASA और हाउ टू डिफाइन सिक्योरिटी लेवल ऑन ASA। अब बेसिक शो कमांड पढ़ लिया है, क्या है क्या नहीं है ये हमने ASA में भी देख लिया। लेट सपोज I want to ping from R1 to R2। चलो इसको करने से पहले राउटिंग पढ़ेंगे। ठीक है, इतने में कोई दिक्कत है नहीं। अभी हम देखते हैं ASA पे शो रनिंग कॉन्फ़िगरेशन। ठीक है, एंड चेक कर रनिंग कॉन्फ़िगरेशन में क्या क्या है। शो रन ये गलत आ रहा है। शो रनिंग कॉन्फ़िगरेशन ही देखो यार, क्यों इतना दिमाग रहा है। show run. रुक जा भाई, तो देखो, बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट जो फायरवॉल होता है उसमें ये पैकेट इंस्पेक्टेड होता है. बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट दिस रूल इज़ ऑलरेडी डिफाइंड ऑन द फायरवॉल, राइट. क्लास मैप इंस्पेक्ट बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट, मैच डिफ़ॉल्ट इंस्पेक्शन, ट्रैफिक पॉलिसी मैप टाइप इंस्पेक्शन, डीएनएस प्रेजेंट, डीएनएस मैप, नो टीसीपी इंस्पेक्शंस. Okay, and no TCP inspection, no TCP inspections, you can check here. Inspect SKY, inspect RSH, inspect FTP, inspect TFTP, all the things are by default. This thing is already defined on a router. Okay, but you can see here no TCP inspections. तो अभी जो नेक्स्ट टॉपिक है वो यही है कि by default, if I am talking about by default, okay, so by default, if this is my firewall, right, by default, if anything which is coming from the inside or means higher security level, that means to lower security level. Let's suppose here the security level is 100 and the security level is 0. Suppose if any traffic is coming from the higher security level to lower security level is by default allowed. By default allowed. Okay. But this is the inspections rules. This is the by default rule which we have already means done on the firewall. Higher security level to lower traffic is by default allowed. Okay, so by default from higher security level to lower security level traffic is allowed. Second thing, once the reply, let me explain more. by def ये लिख लिया ना, हायर सिक्योरिटी लेवल से लोअर सिक्योरिटी लेवल पे ट्रैफिक क्या होता है, अलाउड. लेट दिस इज माय firewall, this is my router and this is my outside router. Okay, and I have said that by default if the traffic is coming from the higher security level, okay, and going towards the lower security level is allowed, action is allowed. ये by default route होता है. But what happen when the traffic returns from the lower security level and they will enter into the higher security level? In this case they will check the inspection table. In this case they will check the inspection table. Okay, if the entry is present in the inspection table, then they will allow the traffic, otherwise they will deny the traffic. means from lower security level to higher security level nothing is allowed. Then you need to create an exception for allow the traffic. मैंने क्या बोला, जब भी कोई हायर सिक्योरिटी लेवल से लोअर सिक्योरिटी लेवल की तरफ जाता है तो सिक्योर बाय डिफॉल्ट ट्रैफिक इज अलाउड, बट व्हेन द रिस्पॉन्स come at firewall from lower security level to the higher security level, first of all the firewall will check the inspection table. If there is entry present on the inspection table, then the traffic will be allowed, otherwise by default action is denied. फर्स्ट थिंग मैंने क्या बोला कि बाय डिफॉल्ट फ्रॉम लोअर सिक्योरिटी हायर सिक्योरिटी लेवल टू लोअर सिक्योरिटी लेवल ट्रैफिक इज अलाउड. सेकंड थिंग मैंने क्या बोला, फ्रॉम लोअर सिक्योरिटी लेवल टू हायर सिक्योरिटी लेवल बाय डिफॉल्ट ट्रैफिक इज डिनाइड. बाय डिफॉल्ट ट्रैफिक इज डिनाइड. ओके, यहां तक कोई दिक्कत है? You can see also here no TCP inspections. What do you mean by no TCP inspection? अभी ये 3 पॉइंट यदि आपने क्लियर कर लिया है कि बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट ट्रैफिक जो है वो लोअर से हायर जो है वो अलाउड नहीं होता है, हायर टू लोअर अलाउड होता है, लोअर टू हायर को अलाउ करने के लिए हमें ACL बनाना पड़ता है, और ACL बना के इंस्पेक्शन टेबल में एंट्री आएगी. इंस्पेक्शन टेबल में यदि एंट्री प्रेजेंट है देन द ट्रैफिक इज अलाउड, अदरवाइज ट्रैफिक इज डिनाइड. यही है. सेकंड थिंग, this is my ASA firewall. Okay, this is my inside zone and this is my outside zone. Okay, now by default रूल ही अभी मैं बता रहा हूँ. आई एम नॉट creating how I am not means here for to create the exception कैसे क्रिएट करते हैं we will discuss later, but अभी हम सिर्फ पढ़ रहे हैं by default रूल. ओके, तो by default रूल में पहला बात, 2 बात तो मैंने पढ़ लिया, तीसरा बात by default TCP if there any packet which is related from the TCP, okay, or any packet which is related to UDP is allowed from higher to lower security zone. That means for the packet by default rule, this is the by default rule. Okay, means if the packet is belong from the TCP, if the packet is belong from the TCP, then no inspection will perform. कोई इंस्पेक्शन टेबल चेक नहीं करेगा, दे विल डायरेक्टली अलाउड द ट्रैफिक. ये हम प्रैक्टिकल करके देखेंगे, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है अभी. ये हम प्रैक्टिकल करेंगे और इसको हम देखेंगे. बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट यदि कोई भी ट्रैफिक आपके राउटर पे आ रहा है, सॉरी फायरवॉल पे आ रहा है, और यदि वो ट्रैफिक इज बिलोंग फ्रॉम द TCP, दे विल नॉट चेक एनी इंस्पेक्शन टेबल एंड दे विल अलाउ द ट्रैफिक. Firewall will allow the traffic. You can see here also no TCP inspections. एक पॉलिसी मैप बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट क्या बना हुआ है, और उस पॉलिसी मैप में क्या कॉल है, नो TCP inspections. मीन्स बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट नो एनी TCP inspection will happen on the firewall. ओके, कोई भी TCP inspection नहीं होगा फायरवॉल पे. तो क्या अभी 3 रूल हमने क्या पढ़ा, इसका पहले प्रैक्टिकल करेंगे. लेट सपोज दिस इज माय फायरवॉल. ओके, दिस इज माय इनसाइड, दिस इज माय आउटसाइड. व्हेनेवर द ट्रैफिक कम फ्रॉम द इनसाइड टू आउटसाइड बाय डिफॉल्ट इज अलाउड, बट व्हेन द ट्रैफिक रिटर्न्स फ्रॉम आउटसाइड टू इनसाइड दैट इज then they will check the inspection table. If the entry is present in the inspection table, they will allow the traffic, otherwise they will deny the traffic. It's from the lower security level to higher security level. Third thing हमने क्या पढ़ा, if the traffic which is belong from the TCP, then they will not check the inspection table and they will take decision directly allow. They will take decision directly allowed. ओके, तो बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट यदि यहाँ से कोई TCP पैकेट जाएगा तो इसमें कोई इंस्पेक्शन चेक नहीं होगा. तो इस चीज़ को करने के लिए व्हाट वी रिक्वायर्ड राउटिंग, क्योंकि अभी मैंने जो ले रखा है फायरवॉल, ये आपका यहाँ से मैंने इसको कनेक्ट कर रखा है. ओके, दिस इज माई R1, दिस इज माई प्रैक्टिकल विच वी आर डूइंग हियर. So this is another network, this is another network. Okay, so just for the reachability from here to R2 we required routing. क्या चाहिए मुझे? Routing. So in case of firewall, routing is same like whatever you have studied in routing and switching domain, like OSPF, BGP, all concept are same. BGP, EIGRP, default, static, all are same, and the command line will be also same. Okay, so I will not discuss anything related to the routing here. I will just show you how to assign. Okay, I will just show you how to check and how to configure routing on the ASA. I will only define the ASA. अब OSPF क्या होता है ये नहीं पढ़ाऊंगा, BGP क्या होता है ये नहीं पढ़ाऊंगा, EIGRP या RIP क्या होता है ये नहीं पढ़ाऊंगा. मैं बस बताऊंगा कि how to configure this routing on ASA. ASA पे हम routing कैसे कॉन्फ़िगर करते हैं बस. तो अगला जो प्रैक्टिकल होगा उसमें क्या काम है, प्रैक्टिकल देख लो, ट्राई करना पहले घर पे जाके. इन तीनों के बीच में मैं EIGRP चला दूंगा या OSPF कुछ भी चला दूंगा. ठीक है, रीचेबिलिटी के लिए. जब इन दोनों सब के बीच में रीचेबिलिटी आ जाएगा तब मैं R2 पे टेलनेट कॉन्फ़िगर करूंगा. क्या कॉन्फ़िगर करूंगा? टेलनेट. एंड R1 से पिंग टेलनेट करूंगा R2 को. इस पे विदाउट कोई रूल बनाए, बिना कोई रूल्स बनाए. ओके, देन हम चेक करेंगे कि ये राउटर जो R1 राउटर है, ये R1 राउटर R2 से पिंग मतलब टेलनेट कर पा रहा है कि नहीं कर पा रहा है. ओके, देन व्हाट वी विल डू, वी विल पिंग फ्रॉम R1 टू R2. तब मैं पिंग करके देखूंगा तो ये पिंग हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है. फिर हम देखेंगे कि ये पिंग क्यों नहीं हो रहा है, तो उसके देखने के लिए हम ASP पढ़ेंगे और ASP के थ्रू हम इसका जो है ट्रबल शूट करेंगे कि वाई पिंग इज मीन्स वाई वी आर नॉट एबल टू पिंग फ्रॉम R1 टू R2. ओके, देन वी विल create a entry or we will create a policy for the ping, and then we can check that R1 से R2 पिंग हो रहा है कि. ये चीज़ हम नेक्स्ट क्लास में पढ़ेंगे. अभी के लिए थैंक यू.